Well, friends, a federal appeals court has sided with Judge James Boasberg and against the Trump administration's unconstitutional deportations of Venezuelan immigrants. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, chalk up another loss for Donald Trump and his administration. Now, we're going to start with the new reporting, but then we're going to have a look at what just one of the appellate court judges said in this newly issued 93-page court opinion. No, I'm not going to read it to you. But we're going to see what one of the appellate court judges said about the human toll, the consequences, the devastation of the Trump administration deporting human beings without honoring their constitutional rights to notice and opportunity to be heard in court before they're deported. But let's start with the new reporting. This from the Associated Press. Headline: Appeals court won't lift order that barred Trump administration from deportations under wartime law. And that article begins, a federal appeals court refused Wednesday to lift an order barring the Trump administration from deporting Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador under an 18th century wartime law. A split three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit would not block Judge James Boasberg's March 15th order temporarily prohibiting deportations under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Invoking the law for the first time since World War II, President Trump's administration deported hundreds of people under a presidential proclamation calling the Tren de Aragua gang an invading force. The Justice Department appealed after U.S. District Judge James Boasberg blocked more deportations and ordered plane loads of Venezuelan immigrants to return to the U.S. That did not happen. Attorneys from the American Civil Liberties Union filed the lawsuit on behalf of 5 Venezuelan non-citizens who were being held in Texas. Judges Karen LaCraft Henderson and Patricia Millett voted to reject the government's request made by DOJ attorneys to lift the order. Each wrote concurring opinions. Judge Justin Walker, a Trump nominee, wrote a dissenting opinion. Judge Millett, who was nominated by Democratic President Barack Obama, said Boasberg's order merely froze the status quo until weighty and unprecedented legal issues can be addressed through an upcoming hearing. The judge said, quote, "There is neither jurisdiction nor reason for this court to interfere at this very preliminary stage or to allow the government to single-handedly moot the plaintiff's claims by immediately removing them beyond the reach of their lawyers or the court." Judge Henderson, who was nominated by Republican President George H.W. Bush, said the court's ruling doesn't prevent the government from arresting and detaining migrants under Trump's proclamation. The judge said, quote, "Lifting the injunctions risks exiling plaintiffs to a land that is not their country of origin," she wrote. Indeed, at oral argument before this court, the government, the DOJ lawyers, in no uncertain terms conveyed that, were the injunction lifted, it would immediately begin deporting plaintiffs without notice. Judge Walker said the plaintiffs' claims belong in Texas, where they are detained. And friends, let's not forget another ongoing aspect of this litigation. Judge Boasberg, the chief judge of the Federal District Court in Washington, has vowed to determine whether the government, the Trump administration, defied his order to turn planes around. The administration has invoked a state secrets privilege and refused to give Boasberg any additional information about the deportations. You know, friends, one of the important safeguards built into our justice system is the notion that everybody should get their day in court before the government acts against them. You know, that's embodied in the constitutional due process protections, the guarantees of notice and opportunity to be heard in court before the government acts against you by, for example, deporting you to a prison in El Salvador. And one of the appeals court judges, Judge Patricia Millett, highlighted in her written opinion the danger, the human toll of an executive branch that doesn't honor people's basic constitutional rights of notice and opportunity to be heard. And friends, let me just briefly set up Judge Millett's comments for you. Imagine if you had a friend, a family member, a loved one who got a tattoo. And it was a sports tattoo honoring, some sports team that person was especially devoted to. But, some government official mistook that tattoo for a gang tattoo. Just imagine those circumstances for a minute. Here's what Judge Millett said. Plaintiffs, meaning the Venezuelan immigrants, plaintiffs allege that the government, Donald Trump's administration, has renditioned innocent foreign nationals in its pursuit against this Venezuelan gang. Renditioned, basically kidnapped and, ferreted away. For example, one of these Venezuelan immigrants alleges that he suffered brutal torture with electric shocks and suffocation for demonstrating against the Venezuelan regime. So he came to America seeking asylum, and while awaiting adjudication of his asylum claim, he was expelled to El Salvador with no notice to counsel, no notice to family, based on a misinterpretation of a soccer tattoo. To date, his family and counsel have lost all contact and have no information regarding his whereabouts or condition. And here's the kicker, friends. The government concedes, and friends, in this context, government means the DOJ lawyers who were in there making these arguments on behalf of the Trump administration. The government concedes it lacks a complete profile or even specific information about each individual the Trump administration, has targeted for summary removal. So they conceded, the DOJ lawyers, the Trump administration, conceded to the appellate court judges that they didn't even have, quote, specific information about each individual they were targeting for deportation. So they couldn't even say how many soccer tattoos may have been misinterpreted and led to the deportation of, just plain old soccer fans rather than dangerous gang members. Well, how the government, how the executive branch, how the administration is supposed to go about determining whether somebody is a dangerous gang member who should be subject to deportation or just a soccer fan? By honoring the person's constitutional rights to notice an opportunity to be heard. That is how this is supposed to be done. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.